Wanted to make a video on my power rankings for promotions slash brands for February 2023. Only one promotion fell out of my top 10 from January. That was Insane Championship Wrestling out of Great Britain. That's mostly because they're going through a lot of turmoil of where to watch it, because they were on WWE Network. WWE Network didn't pick up their contract, so they moved over to YouTube, and they posted a lot of videos on YouTube in January. And I think they posted all the episodes they were going to air on the WWE Network in January. So there was nothing really uploaded for February. So since I couldn't really find it, I didn't really rate it. So they fell out of my top 10. Some places that came close as far as indie wrestling goes, GCW, you know, it's one of the top indie wrestling brands, but indie wrestling and all the kickouts just isn't my style. I did enjoy House of Glory. They had one show in February and I was pretty entertained by it. But like I said, for January, when it comes down to an indie promotion that only has one event compared to others that have weekly shows, I prefer the weekly shows, so I couldn't really put House of Glory in there. And then over in Japan, DDT and TJPW, two entertaining brands, but they fell just outside of my top 10, because at number 10, I put Stardom. Stardom had a few good matches. One in particular put it over the edge for me. Let me butcher some names real quick. I think it was Hashimoto and Mirai. Those two had a great one-on-one match. It was my favorite match of Stardom for the month. At number 9 is OVW, down 2 spots from January. There's two problems I had with OVW. First, Al Snow's booking when it comes to overbooking some finishes lately. It's been a little too much for me at times. Some of the matches way overbooked and not really necessary. But I feel like they do that to keep the big heel stable protected. But I still feel like there are certain points where big heel stables can go over strong. But it's just not happening in OVW. So the heel stable kind of comes off as a bunch of goons that just get lucky with their win because it's a numbers game. Which is fine, but it's like, it happens so often that it's just not that enjoyable to me. So OVW did drop, but stays in the top 10. Rocky Mountain Pro at number 8 also dropped 2 spots. I mean, Rocky Mountain Pro had, it's still good. I still enjoy Rocky Mountain Pro a lot. I think it only dropped because a couple of other things went up. I think Rocky Mountain Pro has a lot going for it. They are doing some interesting feuds over on their YouTube channel. They do a little too many segments with zip ties for different storylines. Like, you had zip ties for your main title storyline. You didn't need to put the zip tie story in another storyline. So that was kind of overused, I guess. But they have some good feuds going on over in Rocky Mountain Pro that you should check out. I like that they also worked with another wrestling promotion in Colorado, a Lucha promotion. They had Rocky Mountain Pro versus the Lucha. Rocky Mountain Pro continues to grow and do well, and I'm happy for it being from Colorado, even if I'm not in Colorado right now. At number 7, Memphis Wrestling continues to do a lot right. It went up 1 spot. I do have something about it that I don't like. I feel like they overuse squash matches on the main Memphis show. But the Memphis YouTube channel, it has a combination of things that I think people can enjoy, because they have their Memphis Wrestling, which is more character driven and pretty storyline driven. They also do a good job of putting heat on heels, which I enjoy. But over on the YouTube channel, they also have a show from Arizona, which is like because Memphis Wrestling is like a part of a bigger wrestling organization deal, I guess. They used to have one in LA too. I don't think it's a thing anymore in Hollywood. And now I guess it's in Arizona. But on that show, it's more indie style. So you get a combination on the Memphis Wrestling channel, which I think is kind of cool, that you get your indie stuff in, but you also have a character-driven show as well. So Memphis Wrestling goes up 1 spot. And number 6, up 3 spots, is NXT. I do feel like NXT in February just did better storytelling in February than it did in January. That's why it went up 3 spots. Grayson Waller and HBK, they keep getting into it to build up Grayson Waller, which I like. Speculation that it could lead to a match. And then we also have JC and Gigi. They broke up. And at first I was kind of not that fond of it, but it's gotten better. I think it's a way to build up both women, that it could work. NXT, far from an enjoyable show, in my opinion. They still get a lot wrong. But they've started to get more right again, so I gave them some credit for that. At number 5, down 3 spots, is AEW. Anybody that's seen any of my AEW videos in February would know that I am pretty fed up with Tony Khan's booking. Tony Khan's booking has been very illogical for months now, but it's gotten worse instead of better. And also, I feel like his booking continues to get nobody over. At least nobody stays over. When somebody gets hot, he makes a decision that leaves you scratching your head as to why are you making this decision. It was Wardlow months ago. Now it's kind of the Acclaimed. They were the hottest thing going. You put the titles on Gun Club instead, which sure you would think, okay, Acclaim could be in some story to try and get it back. But instead of the pay-per-view, we're getting a 4-way tag team match. It just leaves me scratching my head again. I think it was too soon to take the titles off the Acclaimed. I just disagree with almost every booking decision in AEW. I talked about it in my rankings for the wrestlers. Jamie Hayter feels like she's second fiddle in the women's title scene. She's second fiddle in that story. She's the women's champion. Bad booking in AEW. That's why it's down bad in my rankings. I think AEW, it's not in a good place. It's not in a good place. Everybody speculates, oh, CM Punk will come back. That'll save it. If the booking's still bad, it ain't going to save it. It will help, though. It will definitely help ratings. And the story's there to tell. But will Tony Khan tell it well? Probably not. At number 4, Impact Wrestling, down 1. I teeter-tottered on what should be higher, Impact or AEW, because I felt like both of them had pretty rough months in February, especially with Impact compared to January, which I liked more. I just feel like Impact half-assed it in February. The build to No Surrender was lackluster, to say the least. Nothing was built well, and that's why it's only in 3rd place. Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah in 3rd place. A lot of that is more of the same in January. I went up a spot. They did good with the nostalgia for Muto's retirement. Noah always does good with nostalgia with these older veteran wrestlers. Of course, their story with New Japan was great. Kiyomiya versus Okada. Having that on a Noah event, I think, is what helped elevate Noah even more. Pro Wrestling Noah also just is spending money. Their budget seems big. They look great compared to everything in Japan, honestly. They are on par with New Japan. Sometimes I feel like better. They put more into production when it comes to Pro Wrestling Noah with their entrances at the big shows. I really enjoy it. So Noah continues to grow in my eyes. They've grown fast over the past few months. Since I really started paying attention to it consistently for the first time, I really enjoy it. New Japan at number 2. It's hard to beat WWE right now because of the character work and the main story. But if any promotion came close, it was New Japan. New Japan's the only promotion that came close to WWE. They had a lot going for it. Their build to New Beginning in Osaka was great. I thought that they did good with the JY story, even though everybody was pretty sure he was going to be the one losing the loser leaves Japan match. But But then they also have him in the Battle in the Valley against Eddie Kingston, continuing that story. So that was nice. But speaking of Battle in the Valley, that was another big show for America. We had Mercedes Moné have a spectacular match with Kairi Sane. I felt like they really tore the house down. One of the best women's wrestling matches over the past few months, for sure. They also had their relationship with Noah and their relationship with CMLL out of Mexico. So New Japan, a lot going on in February. I enjoyed most of it. So right behind WWE, but WWE is at number one. The Bloodline story, the Sami Zayn story, and to a lesser extent, the Cody Rhodes story, all kind of coming together as we push towards WrestleMania. Their main stuff is great. I do think the undercard is having problems. I've talked about on this channel my problems with Triple H booking the women. He hasn't been good at that. He's struggling to build the card for WrestleMania, in my opinion. Of course, there's speculation that Brock Lesnar vs. Omos was Vince McMahon's idea, and he's the one pushing hard for that match at WrestleMania. So some of these builds to WrestleMania, they're kind of weak. Bray Wyatt's entire story has been a failure. So WWE is far from perfect. But they are doing what every other promotion struggles to do, and that is have this really great storytelling, at least in the main event scene. The main event scene for the WWE is great right now. Fantastic character development and grade A storytelling there. But when you get out of the main event scene, a lot more weaknesses are starting to show up. But it's not enough for me to drop WWE in the power rankings. Somebody else needs to step up. AEW is going the opposite direction. Impact is half-assing it. I love Noah, but I don't know if they have the star power. New Japan's the only one I can really say is right behind WWE in a lot of categories, but they're just not quite there yet. They've made a lot of progress in these past few months. They're not stale anymore in New Japan, but they're also not quite able to pass WWE right now.